Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Lara and I'm a second year medical student at AUC. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on your post notifications so that you know when I post. So in today's video, I just wanted to talk about my journey to becoming a medical student. I get a lot of questions on my channel and also on my Instagram of people asking, certain parts about my journey, whether MCAT or applications or how I got in. Then I also asked on my Instagram a few days ago for any questions that anyone has about my journey, and so I'm going to include answers to those questions in today's video. So I'm going to start with college, and then I'm going to go to, I guess, present day of how that whole journey has gone. So first with college, I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey, so Rutgers, woohoo. I majored in cell biology and neuroscience, and I graduated in May of 2019. And I ended up with a GPA of 3.2. Not great, not terrible, but as a pre-med, obviously we all know it's not a good GPA to have. I think the main reason why I got a score like that is because I kind of rode the wave of me as a student in high school. So in high school, I ended up with a 4.2 GPA. I was taking all the AP classes. School was easy. Not easy, but like I excelled in school the entire time I've been in school up until college. And so it was really hard for me to adjust and really find out how to study. I realized honestly when I came to medical school, I think that's when I learned how to actually study. But in college, in hindsight, I know that I didn't really have all the tools, or at least I didn't apply all the tools in order to know how to study and how to succeed in college courses. And I also knew coming into college that I didn't want to go straight into medical school after college, because I just wanted a break, and I just knew I just didn't want that pressure of having to do the applications during it. I just wanted to enjoy the college process, honestly, and then worry about the medical school afterwards. Although it did create more ease for me throughout college to not have to stress about that next thing, because college is stressful enough with academics, but also everyday life, so that was helpful. But I will say it was a kind of a hindrance a little bit, because I didn't have that foot on my neck to force myself to go extra hard. I did try my best, but to do the extra thing in order to have a great GPA at the end of college in order to apply to medical school afterwards. So my advice for anyone in college that's in the pre-med track is to stay on top of your stuff. Figure out how to study. That's the main thing. Figure out how to study with people. YouTube University is amazing. So if there's a subject that you're having difficulty with, YouTube always has the great videos, especially with the sciences. Ninja Nerd, Kaplan, Armando something. Those are great YouTube channels and resources to really learn concepts and things. Go to outside sources if you're not fully understanding things from what you're getting in class. So yeah, that's pretty much college in a lump sum. So now on to my master's. I went straight into a master's after college. So I graduated college in May 2019, and I started my master's in September of 2019. I went to Rowan University Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences, and it's a two-year program. I ended that with a 3.6 GPA, so a better GPA. Still not the best, obviously. 4.0 is the best, but a better GPA, so a more competitive one. I did the master's program, obviously as a GPA booster, but also to refresh a lot of material from the MCAT. And then also with a master's in biomedical sciences, a lot of the subjects in classes that we had are classes and subjects that we're learning about now, like the biostats and anatomy and microbiome, genetics, all these different types of things. I did that during my master's, so that was a big help coming into medical school as well. So that's also why I chose to do biomedical sciences as the master's program that I did. So halfway through the first year, so this is like January of 2020, that's when I started prepping for the MCAT. And so my initial plan was to take the MCAT in like June, July, so that if I needed to take it again, because I would be applying that summer, if I needed to take it again, I could apply. But as we know, 2020, Rona happened, and so a lot of the MCAT dates were eliminated for that first half of the year and pushed back. So I really only had one chance to take the MCAT. there was a program during my master's program, there was like a special program that I applied for and I got into, and it was really just to help for MCAT prep and then also for applications. So they helped with interviews, like mock interview type of things, and just getting you prepped for applying to med school and hopefully getting into med school. So the course that my school paid for us was Kaplan. So we did the Kaplan MCAT course, and we had class like maybe one or two times a week, and that was with like an instructor. It was online, so it was with an instructor, and we would just go through passages and we would work through how to answer those questions. I think I took that, it started right after that semester ended, so like May. It started in May, and at that point I was not too versed in all the content. And something that I learned actually at that point is that I don't like to do questions before learning the content, because when I just do practice questions or passages for the MCAT and I don't know the content that it's talking about, it just discourages me because I feel like I don't know anything. Like it's just not helpful for me. I know people that study that way, and that's great if you do that, but for me it didn't work. And so with me taking that class at that time, I don't think I got as much out of it as I could have if I even took it at a later date after I've already reviewed content, because we're learning about how to answer questions and I don't even know what the question, subject the question is talking about like that. It was good, but I didn't get as much out of it as I could have. And then real MCAT studying started in that summer, because obviously before then I'm still in the master's, so I couldn't focus too much on the MCAT. So that summer was MCAT, strictly MCAT, and then it was Rona also, so we're locked in. There was nothing much to do other than study and just live my life and watch TV or something. So it was MCAT stuff, and again, at that point I wouldn't say I really knew how to study, especially for an exam like that, because the MCAT is not like a regular course exam or even a final. The content is just so vast, and so studying for that is different than how I would study for a course exam. But I know that now. Then I didn't really know that, so I was trying to do what I like to do was flashcards. So I was trying to do flashcards for things I didn't know, and that was just taking a lot of time because obviously there's so many subjects. And so a lot of those flashcards I wasn't even able to go back to and review because I was running out of time, so I just had to quickly glance over stuff. And so tips for anyone, and in hindsight I would say do a month and a half of content, learning the content, and then do like 2-3 months of questions, practice passages and exams, practice exams. By the time I got to practice exams and really just doing passages, it was like about a month or so. Yeah, about a month or so before my MCAT. And my MCAT was September like 17th or something. And so it wasn't till like August that I really was able to do that kind of thing, and I think that was a little bit of a hindrance. I did do practice exams before then, but again, I didn't know content like that, and also I wasn't practicing passages as much. So if you've taken any MCAT or seen any MCAT passages and stuff, how they ask questions is it's just an MCAT way of asking questions. Like it's a system at the end of the day, and so they ask questions in particular ways to get certain answers. And so doing a lot of practice passages and practice exams, you'll get to learn how they ask and why they ask questions, and then why the answer is the correct answer that they want, that kind of a thing. But I don't think I had as much practice as I should have had. For the MCAT specifically, I do remember like you have to be sharp because you don't have a lot of time to go through, I think 3 or 4 passages in like 45 minutes or something like that. Honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing. And when you are taking practice passages and even practice exams specifically, try to simulate exam testing day type of environments. Do it timed, take your breaks, especially for the practice exams. Take the allotted breaks because your brain needs time to just woosah for a second before you get into the next passage. The MCAT is important, and the better you do, the better chance you will have into getting interviews or whatever. But at the same time, that doesn't identify necessarily the smartest people or even the not so smart people. If you don't get a good grade, that doesn't mean you're not intelligent. You can still ace medical school exams and not do as well on the MCAT. I have aced exams during medical school. And I ended up having a 497 on the MCAT. That wasn't what I wanted, but that's what I got. And so I had to work with it. And so all in all, for that in between MCAT phase, just do your best, make your schedule, do your practice exams and do your practice passages, and just try your best, really. And try to, obviously it's not, Rona time is not, you know, rampant. So allow time for you to take it, and if need be, take it again. Obviously at that time, that luxury was not really afforded to us all. But if that is something that you could do, definitely do that for yourself. Okay, so now on to applications. I wanted to go to DO school. I really wanted to go to a DO school because I love the whole concept of the osteopathic medicine and all of that. I applied to mainly DO schools. I applied to 14 DO schools and 4 MD schools in the US. The applications for DO schools start June 15th, around there. Before that date, this is of 2020, so June 15th, before June, I started putting together all of my things, like my extracurriculars, hobbies, scholarships, all the awards I've gotten, putting them on a Google Doc so I don't forget anything, and writing like little blurbs about each of them, because in the application there is space to write blurbs about it. I did that so that when it does open, I could just transfer it into there. Same thing with the personal statement. I had a personal statement for the master's program, so I started with that as a template, but then, you know, I changed things, added, subtracted, that kind of a thing. And then I also had, I think 2 or 3 people look over it. I will say, as a tip, definitely have people who, you know, are good with essays but also like know about personal statements. Have them look over your personal statement, but not too many people, because if you have too many people putting their input, you can lose your voice in the personal statement. And at the end of the day, it is a personal statement. It's about you, so you have to really have your voice in the paper, but have people look over it to see if things could be said more succinctly, or clarifying things, making sure things are like powerful in places that it needs to be powerful, and you know, all those kind of things. So when the applications actually did open in that summer, early summer, I was putting all of those in, and I had them finished before my MCAT, which was September. A lot of schools were accepting the applications without the MCAT because it was like COVID times. They all knew like MCAT dates were canceled and stuff, so a lot of people were taking it later in September and stuff. I was able to turn in those applications, and then when I took my MCAT September, I think like 2 weeks later, I got my score back, and then as soon as they got them, then I started getting secondaries shortly after, maybe a week, maybe a few days honestly after that. By October, end of October, I had submitted all my secondary applications. Some of these schools had similar type of questions for their secondary applications, and so again, I did the same thing, had a Google Doc of all the secondaries that I had, and just had all the questions, and so that I could type all of them, all my responses, and also have people edit it, look at it to make sure it's succinct and it makes sense what I'm trying to say. Some examples of the secondary questions I actually had were: describe a situation where you chose to advocate for someone who is different from yourself. What does advocacy mean to you, and how has your advocacy developed? Type a brief statement setting forth the key motivational factors in your decision to apply to blank school, and any information about yourself you feel would be of interest to the committee of admissions in consideration of your application. So those are two of like kind of the main questions I had. Definitely that, you know, tell me why question, and then the advocacy and like tell me about a situation where you were different from somebody, kind of adversity type questions. Yeah, a lot of them ask those kind of questions. Those are definitely questions that you should start thinking about, and start thinking about your answers, so that as soon as you get those secondaries, you don't have to wait too long to, you know, turn in those secondaries, because also time is of the essence when it comes to applying and turning in your secondaries and your application altogether. Okay, so now we get to post-application. This is the second and final year of my master's too. So I'm waiting months and months are going by, and I'm not hearing any acceptances. I'm hearing rejections though. January comes, and I'm telling God, like, okay God, you have your hand in this, but please let me know where I'm going to school by the time I graduate this program. And that was going to be May of 2021. January came and went, February, March came and went, and still no acceptances. No interviews, actually, because you have to interview first and then accept. And obviously, like, that's super discouraging, and I was really upset about it. Obviously, this is my dream and this is my goal, to go to medical school and all of that, and I'm just getting rejections, not even any interviews. And I felt like my application and stuff, I felt like I was well-rounded and stuff. I'm like, why not? The MCAT, I think, contributed a lot, because a lot of them cut 500, and so getting 3 points below a 500 like automatically cuts you. At the time, I was like I was quite distraught about it. So towards the end of April, beginning of May time, I spoke to somebody that actually came to the school I'm at currently. Like, she graduated from the school. She was like, why don't you apply to AUC, like a Caribbean school? I didn't want to come to a Caribbean school. I didn't want to move away like that. And then also, you know, the whole stigma about a Caribbean school, like, I didn't want to have to deal with that. But more than that, I didn't want to go through another application cycle and have to pay for all those applications. And I didn't want to wait another year before starting medical school, because my program was going to end in May. Like, what am I about to do for a year? like work? Like, I don't want to just work. I want to get into medical school. So I ended up applying. I applied to AUC and I applied to another Caribbean school, and I got interviews for both within a week. And then I got accepted to AUC first, like 2 days later. And then I got accepted to the other school as well, but my spirit really didn't connect to that school or the interview or anything. So I chose AUC, and to glory of God testimony, I decided I was going to go to AUC before I graduated my master's. So that was an answered prayer. Even just that, I knew God had some kind of plan for me at this school. Even though it wasn't what I wanted, I know that God's plan is way better and more perfect than any plan I could come up with. So as difficult as it was to just accept that I'm not going where I want to go, I just had to fall into it, and it just is what it is, sis. So get used to it. So that summer I was just living my best life, because I knew when med school starts, I don't know when you're about to get another break. Just saying this to myself. So live my best life that summer, and then a year ago from now, last August in 2021, I moved to St. Martin, and the rest is history. And with that being my story, I know it's not one that a lot of people would want, or it's not perfect, and some might judge like certain parts of my journey, but hey, that's what it is, and that's where I'm at. I think a lot of times when it comes to like this whole medical school journey and medical journey, a lot of us have that, I have to be perfect or I'm not going to get in. I have to be perfect or I'm not going to become a doctor. And that's just not true. At the end of the day, like, even being at a Caribbean school, I'm going to get a medical degree and I'm going to be an amazing doctor one day. And so, like, although, you know, with every path there's hurdles to go over, but at the end of the day, if this is for you and if this is what you want, then God is going to make it happen regardless of what anybody thinks about it, and regardless of what you even think would be a better path. It's not always going to be perfect or pretty or how you envision it, but if that's the goal you have, then keep going for it. So I would say try your best at every step of the way, and just trust that you're gonna get there. You're gonna get that degree, even if it's not medicine. Honestly, whatever it is, all you could do is try your best. Try your best and just make sure you're following the path that God wants you to follow, and He'll lead you regardless of what anybody says or thinks about it, including yourself, because sometimes we like to sabotage ourselves and start thinking negatively about or downplaying our own journey and saying like, oh, it's nothing, it's none. Like, no, your journey is beautiful because God took you on it, and regardless of if you got some bumps or bruises on the way, it's all for a greater purpose. I hope that was helpful to somebody. If you do have any more questions, I guess leave it in the comments below. I do plan on having or doing a video about Caribbean schools and like some myths, maybe some truths about Caribbean schools. And so if you have any comments, questions, or myths that you might want to be debunked, leave that in the comments. Make sure you share this video to anyone going into medicine, or, you know, just going into school, starting any path really. Share it, comment, like, subscribe, and do all the things. And I will see you guys very shortly. Bye.